Do you ever turn on the financial news or the news for that matter and hear dialogue like equity markets are booming, equity markets are crashing, stocks are soaring, stocks are plummeting, and think to yourself, what the heck does that mean? Well, let's talk about equities. And I wanted to explain it in this video without the jargon, yeah? Equities or equity, should I say, is a fancy word that actually just means owning a piece of something. That can be a small business, it can be a company listed on a stock exchange, it can be, basically it's ownership, right? So if you ever wanted to own a slice of a company, that's exactly what equities are. In simple terms, equities equals stocks equals ownership. When you buy a company's stock, you're literally buying a piece of that company. You become a shareholder, even if it's a tiny one, or even if you want a tiny slice. Example, let's use Apple. And I'm not talking about the ones you eat, yeah? I'm talking about the company. That's a bad joke. So let's say you love Apple, you buy one share of Apple stock, boom, you now own a little piece of Apple. That means if the company does well, your slice becomes more valuable. If the company pays profits to shareholders, that is what's called dividends. You might get a cut depending on what class of shareholder you are. Also, you have a tiny say in the company, and these are called voting rights, and you can voice them at shareholder meetings, though most retail investors, individuals, never actually go to these. Some do, but not that many. And actually the majority of ownership of these listed companies are by institutions. Institutions such as pension funds, endowment funds, very, very large institutions. But here's the deal. It can go the other way. If the company tanks, your slice can shrink too. That's the risk. That begs the question, why do people invest in equities? Well, there's a few reasons, yeah? It's to grow their money over time, to build wealth for retirement, big goals, or, passive income. Because over the long run, stocks have outperformed most other investments. There is a caveat to that though, yeah? Because that is if you look at it very simply, over long-term data. The reality is that a lot of people panic when markets go down and they'll sell. And if you do that, if you're jumping in and out of markets, the likelihood of you realizing those growth rates that are quoted had you just stayed in can be drastically different. So that's something very important to remember. There's one of the cool things, especially with modern technology, is that you don't need to be rich to get started investing. Especially with the apps that are available today, you can invest with just a few pounds, few euros, few dollars, and still get exposure to some big names. There are also things like ETFs, exchange traded funds, which I'm going to get into them in another video, yeah? It's so a quick recap, and before I go into the 10 largest equity markets by market cap, is equities, ownership in a company. You profit when the company grows. There's risk, but there's also long-term reward. So that's something to bear in mind. Now, on to the top 10 equity market stock exchanges in the world by market cap. That means by size. So first, you got the New York Stock Exchange, the United States. It's 25 plus trillion. Huge. Next, you've got the NASDAQ. which is more tech focused. And also in the United States, which is a market cap of 20 trillion plus. Huge. Third on the list, you've got the Shanghai Stock Exchange, which is in China, and it's got a market cap of 6 to 7 trillion. Then you've got the Euronext, the Pan-European, which is around 5 to 6 trillion. And then you've got the Hong Kong Exchange, 4 to 5 trillion. Then the London Stock Exchange, which is... I beg your pardon, man. It's actually the Shenzhen and the London Stock Exchange, which are pretty much neck on neck at 3 to 4 trillion. And then you've got the National Stock Exchange, which is based in India, and that's 4 plus trillion. And then finally, number 10, you've got the Toronto Stock Exchange, which is based in Canada, which is 2 to 3 trillion. So that's an intro to equities. I hope you find it useful. If you have any questions, feel free to email us at info@expatmoneychat. And there's going to be more info like this following up. So, hit the like, hit the subscribe. And again, any comments are welcomed. Really appreciate you watching. Thank you.